Hola amigos de Wine News TV, les invito a conectar conmigo y con mis invitados en Wine News TV On The Go, un podcast que a su vez es un espacio donde aprenderás sobre el mágico mundo del vino a través de invitados de todas partes del mundo que nos contarán sobre sus proyectos para obsequiarnos de forma embotellada música, fuego y leones, como decía el gran maestro argentino Jorge Luis Borges en su poema Soneto al Vino. Hola amigos de Wine News TV, el podcast. Seguimos reportando aquí desde los fingerlakes y he regresado a Tabora, un lugar único que es viñedo, es café, cocinan deliciosos sándwiches, hacen su propio pan, hacen sus propios postres. Y el otro día estaba con mi amigo Roberto Herb y Kyla nos estaba dando a probar unas delicias de vinos híbridos, varietales nativos que solo se consiguen aquí. Y me dijo, tienes que conocer a Matt. Yo le dije, ¿quién es Matt? Y me dijo, es el winemaker, es el enólogo. Y por eso Tito me dijo, vamos a hablar con Matt el lunes. Y aquí estamos, ya mañana nos vamos de los Finger Lakes con la promesa de que volveremos. Matthew Butts,
Yep.
Right? Got it right. So now we're switching on to English. Thank you for this. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you for coming on by.
I was telling my audience that the other day, Kyla, I don't know how to pronounce it, was super nice with us. And she allowed me to taste some of the wines you make. And I've been doing wine content since 2006, it's going to be 20 years next year. And I had never had Cayuga White or the Baco Noir, or the other one was, help me out, Tito, here.
We had the
Chaunig, Leon Millet.
Leon Milo, yeah.
Leon Milo, those things. Tell me a little bit about you first. Are you from here? Are you from the Finger Lakes?
So my family's originally from the Finger Lakes.
Uh-huh.
I was actually originally from, grew up in Rhode Island mainly. I grew up there for quite a bit of time. I over time just realized, you know what, I'm miserable and unhappy. I was in shit fitting and welding before.
Were you in Providence?
Just down south from Providence. I owned a house in South Kingstown, Rhode Island. And woke up one day, I said, you know what, something's got to change.
Were you exposed to wine through your parents growing up? Were they wine drinkers themselves?
A little bit. My grandfather worked in the vineyard at Lucas's right across the lake here.
Okay.
So when I up and left and said, okay, let's do something different, I sold the house, sold the car, got a new job.
Oh
moved
gosh,
up
when
here.
was this? How old were you when this? You're 33 now, so when was this?
I think it was 25, 26, and young enough to say, okay, we can do a new start, and just.
Had you done wine before? Had you read about the subject? Were you a wine drinker yourself?
A little bit of wine drinker.
Okay.
I experimented here and there.
You would dabble. You would dabble on the imbibe.
Yeah. I would dabble and I would drink it here and there. And when I was up here, I was like, wow, this is beautiful wine region. And so I started off at actually Wagner Vineyards right across the way here and went down that rabbit hole of wine appreciation.
And then you became obsessed. You read, you tasted, you read, you tasted, you travel, you read, you tasted. You put on weight because that happens.
Oh, yeah.
Because whenever they pour you wine, they usually bring the bruschetta and they bring the salami and then the ham. And then since you already ate it all, they bring out dessert and you say, yeah, I might as well. I'm here.
Twist my arm, right?
Twist my arm, exactly. Tell me a little bit about Tabora, the winery. I've already had the bread, the food, delicious. Tell me about the Tabora project. Who's behind it? When did it start?
So Jane and Roger were the original, the owners. They moved from Pennsylvania and they bought the property that had some vines here. And they started growing the grapes. And with time, Jane's dream was to get the deli and the bakery going. And they renovated that beautiful barn. And they turned that into the deli and the bakery. And then Roger's, dream was to, and his daughter's dreams were to make wine here on location. So they took this old Quonset hut and refurbished it into a beautiful tasting room.
It is beautiful. Looks like a hangar.
Yeah.
But it's turned into something that's rustic, practical, and romantic.
Right.
Yeah.
We like to call it rustic farmhouse chic.
I love that.
And so in 2020, they opened the doors here at the tasting room just pretty much months after Roger passed away.
Oh,
so, and with his dream to work with the grapes here on location, the estate, but also the hybrids. He was a big advocate for these hybrid grapes. And the original winemaker, Kelly Otterson, she did a fantastic job with all these wines, really started growing with the business.
Let's get into that for a bit, because I've been doing this for a number of years. I've done more than 700 wine interviews. If you add audio, video, the things I've done in television, it's more than 800 in reality. And some of the grapes, some of the wines that I had the other day when I visited here with Tito, I had never had before. Like, they were new to me. For those listening, what's a hybrid?
So hybrid, a lot of times, are grapes that have been cross-pollinated. They have been designed, through pollination and cloning a lot of times, but in either out in the wild or in a lab setting. Cornell University does wonders here. Really has a great viticulture program where they help create grapes that thrive and ripen here. Mm-hmm. I hate the word hybrid. Mm-hmm. Everybody hates that word. You think hybrid and like, GMO and everything. Mm-hmm. The words I love to use for it is designer cultivars. And because that makes you think, okay, this was made for here. This was made to, not only grow, but really make a delicious wine out of it. And a lot of these grapes for years in the Finger Lakes have kind of been poo-pooed on a little bit, out in the beginning.
Give me some names, and we're not going to call them hybrid. We're going to call them Finger Lake grapes.
Yeah. So Cayuga White is a huge one.
Cayuga White.
And
how does that, let's touch on 6 or 7 or more if you want. Like, give me the name and give me the aromatics and the mouth palate. For those listening who say, oh, I like that style. Cayuga White. Oh, is that like a Gewürz? It's like a Riesling. Give me a name. Give me an aromatic, maybe 1 or 2 lines, and then palate feel.
We'll start off with Aurora. Aurora it's light, it's bright. I mean, it's usually acid driven. Mm-hmm. And with that, it's always reflecting of these like green fruits, these Granny Smith apples, and just really develops on the palate quite subtly, but very light. And then, you work your way towards like
Aurora. Those out there listening, who do you think would like Aurora? Those who drink blank, what?
Anyone that drinks
Albarino, Pinot Grigio. Okay. So Pinot Grigio drinkers would like to try Aurora from the Finger Lakes.
Absolutely.
Let's move on to another.
Cayuga White is the next one.
Cayuga White.
That's a Cornell grape hybrid that Cornell University created. And the fruits that you get off of it are very upfront and boisterous. Mm-hmm. It's just this tropical fruit palette, but it plays well with others. Mm-hmm. And so for a lot of times, it's always blended out. Now you're starting to see a lot of people make it as single varietals. This pet nat that we're drinking.
Okay, let's get into that while we chat. I wanted to ask, cheers, Matt.
Cheers,
Tito.
Salute.
Thank you for the opportunity. I'm here with my trusted sidekick and partner here, Roberto from Discover FLX Wineries, a certified wine judge and a friend.
So this pet nat, Petulant Natural, Cayuga White, I mean, the acid level is just, it hits the spot for me. It brings out that boisterous fruits while still holding on to those citrus characteristics. And then with that lees contact, it really starts to give you a nice mousse to it as well.
Yeah, nice, because it's very well, nicely balanced, and it has a refreshing quality to it. Also has something that I get in the pet nuts that I really enjoy, like a funkiness to it, and
it's got a kiss.
It's like a rustic character to it, and then it's creamy, it's round on the palate. It's very nice.
Just a kiss of James Brown, just a little bit of funk.
Yeah, a little bit of funk, a little bit of James Brown. So this is 100% Cayuga White.
100%.
Those out there who like what grape should seek out Cayuga White?
If you like a Riesling, it is, the acid level really does help out and still plays really nicely together.
I'm getting some minerality, some flinty notes, some interesting. It's not petrol. It's a smell that reminds me. I don't want to say plastic or a balloon, but it's matchstick. It's like a little reduction to it. That's very nice. Very, very nice. All right, let's move on to the third grape.
Deschanel.
How do you spell that?
Oh gosh, you had to ask.
All right, Deshana.
Deshanac, so Dechaunac.
Yeah, that's
That.
the okay. I was
So,
pronouncing it totally. I was saying the chance. I was saying.
yeah.
So that's what we're having now.
So yeah, it's actually just one of the versions of it. So for my winemaking style, I saignée everything.
Okay.
And so the saignée of the Shanac,
Mm-hmm.
I made in 2022 the sparkling rosé. This is forced carbonated.
Mm-hmm.
The Shanac to me just loves to live with these beautiful ripened raspberry notes. I mean, when it comes to hybrids, it's acid management.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you're focusing on. They're
Ooh,
very
nice.
high acid.
Rose petal too here.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, nice.
And it's with forced carbonation, it just there's enough boldness in the Shanac in that rosé to really keep those fruits going, but still keeping it very palatable.
Is the Shanac one of those Vitis labrusca grapes?
Mm-mm.
What do you pair this with? Somebody out there listening in the New York area who buys this, what do you suggest to pair with?
So at least for this Sparkle Rosé, we were actually just pairing it with some of our brownies that we have. That chocolate, that fudginess with these bubbles, it really kind of breaks that up quite nicely. But the Deshanac, for the red that we have in bottle, I love that with a summer salad. You know, it has those big fruits that really work well with cranberries and even some of those nuts, you know, like cashews and such that you put in some of those into those summer salads with some watermelon or whatnot.
These grapes, are they only, people can only find them in the Finger Lakes?
No, not in the Finger Lakes only. A lot of times in struggling regions, you know, in the Minnesota is a big one. Canada also is a huge one for them as well. You know, these cross-pollinated grapes are designed for a little bit more of these harsher climates. You know, you see a lot of like Baca Noir. That's another one.
Tell me about Baca Noir, because people recognize the noir part from, you know, Pinot Noir. And tell me about Baca Noir.
So Baca Noir being another, you know, French-American hybrid, it has a very distinctive nose. It has this like meaty, gamey nose to it, and it's kind of like Gewürztraminer to me. You know, for me, Gewürztraminer, you love it or you hate it.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and so Baca Noir for me is very hard to make because I'm one of those that I'm not the biggest fan of it. Appreciate it, just not for my palate. But
you understand some people love it. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. As a cult following of sorts.
Exactly. You know, and that meaty, that gamey, that jammy notes. I hate using the word jammy, but you know, those jammy notes that it gives off, it is fantastic. And especially if you
But jammy on the nose, I haven't had anything over this past couple of days that's jammy on the palate. Right. I don't mind a jammy nose. A jammy nose is an explosive nose. It's a nose that can suggest sweetness or residual sugar or a palate that's going to be, pardon the word, pornographic.
Right.
I detest those wines nowadays. I used to love them 20 years ago. I haven't had a jammy on the palate wine here. And I like when a wine throws me a curveball, that on the nose I say, wow, this is going to be big. And then it lands, like when the plane lands and you're asleep and you don't even notice.
Keeps you on your toes.
Yeah.
And that's it with these hybrids. You know, it just, there's so much you can do with them. You know, and like Baca Noir, and not only having that nose to it, you know, it's great in this younger, fresh style. You know, that's because we're a cold region. You know,
I've heard, Matt, two words: hybrid for a couple of days now. A native. Is there a difference between them? What's a hybrid vis-a-vis a native?
So native are Native American, North American cultivars that are naturally from our region and continent. We have a parasite in our soil with phylloxera. You know, these grapes are naturally resistant to it. And so those are the grapes that you typically get that, you know, they'll make a lot of those jellies.
A native is 100% from North America, from this part of the world. Correct. Give me some grapes that are native.
Off the top of my head, you know, you have Niagara, Concord, you know, those type of style grapes.
And then hybrids is a cross between a native and something from abroad.
Yeah. And the hybrids can also be, you know, multiple native, you know, species and cultivars. But more often than not, they're using a native and a Vitis vinifera European grape. So that way we get the growing ability and sustainability as a North American grape, but the complexity and the flavors of a European or Vitis vinifera grape.
The other wine that I had is from this grape that I don't know if it's named after a person. Sounds like a Leon Millot. Can you tell me about that?
Leon Millot. That was before I started here. I never heard of that before.
Yeah, I had never heard about it.
That's one thing I loved when I started here in 2022. There was all these cultivars I've never heard of, never played around with, never even drank. And so starting off with this blank palate, it's like, okay, let's have some fun with these.
Yeah.
And Leon is such an early ripener. It's probably the earliest harvest I've ever had here in the Finger Lakes. I harvested that September 6th of 2022. Usually we're harvesting towards the tail end of September. And it's super ripe. I mean, it plays with oak very well. The color that comes out of it is this beautiful brick burgundy kind of color to it. But I tell everybody, if you like a cold climate Merlot, Leon Millot is very similar to that.
Sounds so elegant when you say it, Leon Millot. I say
Millot,
Leon
yeah.
Millot. Yeah, assassinating the name. The word that came to mind the day we were tasting here with Kyla and Tito was botanicals. These aromas or herbs, like when you, back in the day, I'm older than both of you. I remember my grandmother, whenever I was sick at home, she would, give me something to rub, and it had like this incredible aromas of herbs and some spice, like like homemade medicine of sorts.
Oh yeah.
I hate the word medicine because it sounds like manufactured chemical, but rather something that it smells like herbs, botanical, clean.
You get these beautiful like
oils,
floral,
and those oils that they rub on you to, that sometimes I am an anxious person most of the time, and there are some oils that you put on for peace and calming and like
lavender
balm
or rosemary oil.
Yeah. Like, you're an anxious person too.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You have to be
to keep in your toes. Tell me before we wrap up, because this episode is devoted to what I believe is paradise for wine geeks, the Finger Lakes. Not only do they make magnificent vinifera wines, but also some rarities, very, very unique things. Tell me about 2 or 3 other grapes that you really, really love that people out there should seek out for.
Well, one of the ones is Cheval Blanc, which we don't produce here, but Cheval Blanc is another one of those French American hybrids that just, if you love this light summer fresh wines, that style of like Sauvignon Blanc, Pinot Grigio, but can thrive in this area, Cheval Blanc is probably my next favorite. But I will say Aurora is my favorite here.
Okay.
That's one I've never tasted before, and then we're throwing it through the ringer.
Give me 1 or 2 more that people should look for.
Let's see. So we talked about the Shonic, Maréchal Foch.
Yeah,
that's a huge one. Maréchal
Foch. That has the name of a vaudeville play. Vaudeville, the circus, the clowns.
Oh, yeah.
War and the French from the early last century. What's the name again?
Maréchal Foch.
Maréchal Foch. Yeah.
And that is
like a traveling circus.
It does. And you know what? But it is that traveling circus on the mouth. In your palate, it has all of these like fruit medley cocktail notes.
Is it a red one?
It's a red, yep. And it does wonderful, not only in oak, but stainless steel. So if you like that Nouveau kind of style, Maréchal Foch does fantastic.
Like Gamay Nouveau, like Beaujolais style.
Okay, exactly.
Rustic. It's like a little rustic and gamey. Very cool.
Much like Gamay. And so that winds up being a really, really nice one. Probably another one is Treminette here in the Finger Lakes.
Treminette, that's related to, is it Riesling or Gewurz?
I believe related to Riesling, but it has a lot of the same characteristics as Gewurz. But I'm not positive, I will say. But it has that balance between a Riesling and a Gewürztraminer. It has that boisterous, shouty floral, but then it has that minerality and that bright senses in the palate of a Riesling. And
this has been fantastic, Matt. Before we wrap, are you working on something new here at Tabora? Are you experimenting with anything that you want to drop here as an exclusive that people can look out for in the coming months or years? Can you leave us pondering about the future?
Well, here at Tabora, we are coming out with some really fun. We're gonna have a port wine coming up. Yeah,
Nice.
and we worked with a local distiller for
Which grape?
So I believe it or not, I don't know.
All right, it's okay.
It was a blend of this certain section of the vineyard that we have no clue exactly what's in there. We have an idea, we're just not positive.
You kind of call it a field blend.
A field blend, yep.
Yeah.
And then working on some traditional method champenois. And then we're also working at a new startup coming in June as well.
Yeah, I should be back by the summer. This has been fantastic. Gente linda, vengan a los Finger Lakes. No solo hacen grandísimos vinos de Riesling, Cabernet Franc, Chardonnay, Gewürztraminer, que son uvas pues vitis vinífera, ¿no? Conocidas mundialmente, y uvas nobles, sino que hacen unas cosas únicas, unos varietales que solo crecen aquí o que crecen aquí de una forma maravillosa. Vengan a buscarlos y vengan a Tabora. No solo tienen unos vinos mágicos, sino que se come delicioso. Gracias por su sintonía. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Tito, for your time. Recuerden suscribirse aquí al podcast, dejarnos un comentario, compartir esta reseña con algún amigo que les pueda interesar y recordar que en el mundo del vino lo importante no es el destino o la meta, sino el recorrido y el viaje. Será hasta la próxima. Bye, bye. Este fue el episodio de hoy. Recuerda dejarnos una reseña para que nos ayudes a crecer, suscribirte y recomendarnos con tus amigos amantes del vino. No importa cuán avanzado estés en el recorrido de enamorarte de aquello que decían sobre el vino. Son uvas transformadas en poesía. Aquí hay espacio para todos. Salud y como siempre, dale share.